Hey, what's up, y'all? So today we're talking about TypeScript. Check this out. All right, so today we're talking about TypeScript and why people say is basically JavaScript, but with superpowers, right? So if you're completely new, that's fine. People do say you have to learn JavaScript before you learn TypeScript. I don't think that way. I think as long as you can pick up any coding language, you can start with the basics, understand it, get familiarity with it, grow to have confidence in it. I think other coding languages will come to you naturally, and then you can then indulge in them as you see fit. So first, we're going to talk about what TypeScript actually is. We're going to see how it fits with HTML and CSS. And then we're going to see how JavaScript works with the browser and how it understands it. And then how TypeScript comes into play as well. All right, so here we're looking at the slide of a superset of JavaScript. But think of JavaScript like a regular car, right? So you're driving a regular car, but TypeScript comes in as the lane assist. So it makes things a little bit easier, helping you with more rules, more clarity, and also it's way easier to understand and write as well. Trust me. So as you're writing TypeScript, it's automatically going to write JavaScript behind the scenes, and that's what's going to push to the web page as well. So you don't have to naturally know so much JavaScript, right? But you may, depending on the complexity of what you're trying to do, because JavaScript, you may just have to do those things natively within JavaScript, and that's okay. But TypeScript can handle a lot of it too. So if you can use TypeScript, you're going to learn JavaScript just naturally as well too, if you don't know it. Now, it was made in about 2012, and it's because JavaScript was being used for huge applications, big code bases, and big teams. And JavaScript had very few rules. And when you think about it, when you have thousands of files, it becomes hard to find, issues you may have within your code. So that's why TypeScript was made. And TypeScript actually lets you see the code, see the mistakes, and then as we develop into the modern era, we have so many IDs out there as well that allow you to see errors as you're writing too. But TypeScript was done, well ahead of its time as well. So we talked about it before in a previous video, right? So HTML is the structure, CSS is the body, and then TypeScript is going to be the logic. So how is everything actually going to be organized within the web page? That's where TypeScript really comes in. Now, all three work together along with JavaScript as well to make the perfect web design application. So TypeScript is a file extension, but you can do so much more than HTML. So before you had to separate your logic, right? HTML, you had to do your body, so the structure, the skeleton of everything. JavaScript, you had to do your logic. Whereas now in TypeScript, you can just do everything in one place. That's the beauty of it, right? So here, I just want to explain real quick because I didn't get to explain in a previous video. And the reason I didn't want to do it in the previous one is because I want to do it here. So before in the CSS video, we talked about how it rolls into TypeScript, right? So imagine you had a block of code in CSS called page. It took the border, it took the font, it took the font style, it took the size, everything, right? And page being called the function within CSS, we now put it in the division of class name. So class name is saying, hey, bring in that component that we want so we can use that as a hierarchy mechanism and use that format as well. So my previous CSS video actually didn't talk about how CSS rolls into TypeScript and they work together, right? So let's just imagine with me how before when I talked about CSS, you had a component. You had a function of page, for example, and within page, you have the font, you have the style, you have the size, the color, all the things, right? And that takes you and buckets that entire thing. And then you can take that page and roll that right here into class name, a division. So division is going to be the parent hierarchy because it's the uppermost layer. And then anything underneath it, to a certain degree though, is going to be a child. So it's going to be nested within that parent. So it's going to adopt everything that the page has. So the page would probably be the background, maybe even an image or something to that extent. And then you have H1 as well, which is going to be heading. And then that's going to be the title. So that's going to say, hello, Nexion, right? But that's going to be a child because that's going to live within the page. So as the page moves around, or if you have multiple parents, that child is always going to live within that parent. Now we'll talk about that more later as well, but I just want to give you a glimpse of what we have in the future. All right, so here is another format of TypeScript. So before in HTML, you could import images. You had to do that with JavaScript. So here in TypeScript, you can do everything in one place. So I could import images. I could then build out my entire block of code that I want so I can see exactly my structure, right? So here I have the Nexion logo coming in. For my image, I have all my buttons going along with it as well. And I could see everything is indented appropriately so that I have my header set up and then my logo with my button as well. All right, so these are just a couple companies that use TypeScript. So you have Airbnb uses it for a large portion of their front end. Google uses it for frameworks such as Angular, and Slack uses it as well. But at the end of the day, the benefit's going to be that it's easier to maintain and it works with CSS, right? So you can use it with CSS, so you can bring in everything that you want, all your formats. You can write out your text, bring in your images, and now you have a functional web page. All right, so just to wrap up, now you know what TypeScript is, why it was created, and how it works with HTML and CSS, and what TypeScript is. And then we're going to talk about the parent and child hierarchy in the future as well, so you can exactly see how it looks real time with real examples. With that said, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts down below. Leave a like, leave a comment. And as always, thanks for watching, y'all.